And welcome to Paleo with Becky. Today I'm going to be making ginger snaps for you, especially since yesterday was actually National Gingersnap Day. So that was very fun. I got to play around with this recipe and make it both low carb and paleo, and also, as always, sugar-free. So we're going to get started. This recipe is very easy and very quick. So to start out, I'm going to preheat the oven to 325. Alright. You may see Lily come in and out. We just moved, so she's a little freaked out. So she's been a little bit more clingy than usual. Now I'm going to take half a cup of butter, 1 stick. And then I'm going to take either a half cup of sweetener, or if you're using natural mate, which is what I have, you're going to want to cut that in half and only do a 1/4 cup. So if you're using anything else, use a half cup. If you are using natural mate, which is the stevia and erythritol blend, you're going to only want to use a 1/4 cup. Otherwise it's going to be very sweet. There we go. Now the first step is going to be to cream the butter with the sweetener. So the butter should be softened. I would just leave it out for about ½ hour before you begin the recipe. I've tried microwaving it and it ends up being very difficult to microwave. I'm not sure why. I guess microwave too powerful, but you could turn it on a lower speed. Alright, so there we go. Now this can be a little bit difficult if your butter is not room temperature. The Joy of Cooking actually recommends butter be at 70 degrees. I did not measure the temperature of my butter, but I'm guessing it's probably a little above 70 degrees. So you just want to keep pushing it into the sugar. The immersion blender really comes in handy here, as does my, my silicone bowl, because it's a little moldable. There we go. Once you get it started, it's a lot easier. Now creaming the butter and the sugar, or the sweetener in this case, really just helps you get an even consistency when baking. There we go. Alright. So, cream my butter and my sugar. Doesn't look like much, just cream butter, and the sugar is fully incorporated into the butter. Now I'm just going to add the rest of my ingredients. So that starts with 3 tablespoons of molasses. And if you're having trouble getting the molasses out of the spoon, which I always do, it can help if you coat it with a little bit of butter first, but don't worry too much about being precise on it. If there's a little molasses coating left, it's not going to be the end of the world. There we go. And I did experiment with this between 1 and 2 tablespoons of molasses. We found that 2 tablespoons was just not quite enough. So we went with 3 tablespoons, and I originally had an extra 1/8 cup of sweetener in there, but I just cut that back to a 1/4. There you go. Now I'm covered in molasses. There we go. Now again, we're going to be making ginger snaps. So these are the ones that I made earlier. You can see they're just little balls. They're also going to be very easy to measure out. There we go. Alright. So after the 3 tablespoons of molasses, you get 2 cups of almond flour. So I've got my almond flour here, and I'm going to try and pour it. I love these little jars. Oops. Love these little jars, but if you've seen me before, I almost always spill it when I'm trying to measure it out. There we go. So there's 1 cup. I almost always spill something when I'm cooking anyway, so. Question is, what is it going to be? Alright, and there is 2 cups of almond flour. I'll put that back for now. And now we're going to do a ½ teaspoon of baking soda. I don't use baking powder. It's very easy to create your own, depending on what you're making. So this is a ½ teaspoon of baking soda. And then a ½ teaspoon of tapioca starch. Baking powder is actually just baking soda with a starch and then some type of acid. And molasses actually acts as an acid, which not only releases the gas in the bisodium baking soda, just kind of the word for it went that way, but the molasses actually releases the gas, similar to when you mix vinegar and baking soda together. And that kind of puffs it up a little bit, and we catch that gas while the cookie is baking. So that's what actually gives it its nice fluffy texture. Alright, and then next we're going to do 1 egg, which I did not get out, so give me a second. You guys are right behind the refrigerator, so if I bumped it a little, oops. Alright, eggs. Oh, and there is the oven. Alright, so 1 egg. Just crack that right in there. There we go. Alright, and then 3 teaspoons of ground ginger. This says maple syrup, but it's actually ground ginger, I promise. 1, 2, 3. And it seems that Lily is actually hiding, so I won't be tripping over her too much. There we go. Alright, and then 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. I'm starting to run low in my giant thing of cinnamon here, so I'll take the cap off and see if we can get some out. There we go. Alright. And then we have a ½ teaspoon, so I grabbed my ½ teaspoon here, of cloves. Alrighty. And then, last, and probably the most interesting ingredient, is actually pepper. So we're going to do about an 1/8 teaspoon of ground pepper. So that was about 14 turns for me on this guy. Doesn't have to be precise, you just want to get a little in there and it gives it a nice kick, a really nice spice to it. You won't know it's in there unless you get a big ground of it, which I don't think you should, so. Alright, now we're going to mix it all together. Like I said, this is a very easy recipe. You see it's turning this nice kind of medium brown. There we go. Oh, Lily's come out. My dog Lily does not particularly like boxes or moving or loud noises, so she's been she's been tolerating this while we've been renovating, because this house is actually maybe like 90% done. Adam and I have been renovating it ourselves for the past few months, and then we finally kind of hit our deadline and had to move in. So Lily's been having to tolerate a half put together house with a lot of boxes and a lot of loud noises. So she's been very much around me. Oh dear, I forgot the allspice. Okay, allspice as well. And you're gonna want a quarter teaspoon of allspice as well. There you go. It's always something. Yesterday I forgot the tapioca starch and had to mix it back in there. There we go. Okay, everything's in now. Alright, so let me pull out my baking sheets. I'm going to grab 2 baking sheets and I'm going to grab some parchment paper to roll out on there. So let me grab the parchment paper, since that is actually in the half-finished pantry. I don't know if you can see in there, but we haven't finished laying the floor down yet, so it's a little rough in there, but it holds food fine. Alright. So, woo. There we go. Let me get that out of the way. Now we have our 2 baking sheets. And Adam got some, I guess it's compostable baking paper. Oh, I'm running out of that. Hold on, let me get another one. He bought like 8 of them. And I really like them, except for the fact that they do not have a little tear line. I guess that's better for the environment if I use scissors, which is totally fine by me. Just took me a while to get used to it. There we go. Alright. Now I've got whole rolled baking paper. This is just parchment paper. And you're just going to want to line the pan. There's baking pan number 1. And baking pan number 2. There we go. And I'll just pop that back in here for now. Put it over here with the scissors. Alright, now you're going to want to make these pretty small. We're only going to be baking them for maybe 10 to 13 minutes. It's very quick. So I'm going to grab just a teeny tiny amount in my tablespoon here. And then I'm going to put it on here. It's a football shape. If you want, you can shape it into a ball. But it's just about a 1/2 inch ball either way. So 1/2 inch high, 1/2 inch long. And I'm just going to keep dropping those on here. And this is where having 2 spoons help, because this stuff is quite sticky. So if you end up using your hands, you're going to get a lot stuck to your hands, which, you know, is fine, whatever. But personally, I just use spoons. It also helps me keep them a little consistent. And when we're baking these, you're going to have to be pretty careful about not burning them. I've burned at least 2 batches, though one was because my, this is a new oven. We got a counter depth oven, because if it sticks out a little bit, it really looks weird. This kitchen's pretty small, and if you have anything sticking out into the standing area, it makes it look way smaller. Oops, that one's a little small. So we got a counter depth oven, and the, I guess, heating element was still twist tied to the oven rack, and I didn't notice this. And so the bottom sheet of cookies was really close to the oven rack while I was cooking, so they got a little bit burned because I could only really see the top batch. So those got a little bit burned, but not a big deal. We just made more. I've been playing with this recipe for a little bit. And they've come out really good. I've also been kind of testing them out on Adam's coworkers. He's got one coworker who eats gluten-free, and I guess she must have a really bad allergy because she is very, very sensitive to being around gluten, any kind of bread product. So she must have a really terrible allergy. So I had him bring some of these in for her, as well as he has another coworker who has a daughter who has, I believe it is celiac, but she has an inflammatory bowel disease, one of them. And so he was asking me for bread recipes because he said all of the gluten-free bread that he was buying in the store was pretty bad. So I sent him over a couple of my favorite recipes, a couple that I made, a couple that I found over the years that are really good. So we'll see how he does with those. I think he's actually out. A lot of people are out on vacation right now. There we go. Ginger snaps are just quite nice and refreshing, I find, with some summer drink. It's really fun to have just a little bowl of cookies out on the patio. The nice little bite of ginger. I really love ginger. It's one of my favorites. There we go. And again, these can be very small. That way they'll cook very quickly. It's just a quick summer recipe. There we go. If you're inside in the summer, you probably don't want to have the oven on for too long, so these are nice to just cook for about 10 minutes. There we go. You can make these bigger. No reason not to. Just nice little cookies. There we go. So if you like these recipes, if you like having paleo cookies, paleo chicken fingers, paleo pizza, some of the classics, as well as just new recipes that are really easy to make, do subscribe to my videos. I come out with a new one every week. And always, I want to make them easy for you, because I don't want you to have to spend a lot of time in the kitchen just to eat healthy. Like, I know cooking is fun. I absolutely love cooking, but some days when it's just everything's going on and you're like, oh God, one more thing, now I have to cook, and now I have to go shopping and like stare at the ingredients and figure out what I need. It's just one more thing. So I like to do really easy recipes that can just fit into your daily schedule. They're not that big of a deal. As you can see, these cookies are really quick. I think the longest part of them is actually scooping them out. So hey, if you're having a really bad day, you really need some cookies, you can make some giant cookies. That is totally okay. There we go. And these are ingredients that I tend to keep on hand anyway. So obviously the almond flour, and then nicely packed spice shelf, butter, always have that on hand. And then just tapioca starch. That one's a little unusual, but I would really recommend getting it. It can be great for thickening sauces. But these are just ingredients that you're going to want to keep on hand all the time. So that way, when you are in a bad mood and you want cookies, or, you know, like me, you're moving and life is just kind of hectic, or maybe you're not moving and life is kind of hectic anyway, and you just want something you can throw together really quickly. You've got everything already on hand. You can order all this stuff off Amazon. It gets there in 2 days, which is great. I love Amazon Prime shipping. It's like opened up my world to all new ingredients that I wouldn't have had access to before. Last week I did a vanilla extract, which was really good. I love making vanilla extract at home. If you haven't seen that video, definitely go check it out. It's a really good one. There we go. And so I ordered some vanilla beans, grade B for vanilla extract, and they were like way cheaper, and I think I made the vanilla extract for like $16 for a giant bottle where it was like $23 to buy from McCormick. Okay, so here we go. See, tiny little cookies. Oops, that one's rolling away. And now I'm just going to pop it in the oven. Now, these are a bit big, so I can't put the same one on the same rack. It's also a small oven. So I'm going to stagger them. So one's on top here, the other one's on the bottom here. Try to keep your racks right in the middle too, so that way they have even cooking time. Alright, so there you go. That is my ginger snap recipe. I'm going to set a timer for about 10 minutes and I'll check on them. You're going to want to make sure that the edges don't start to get too brown. These are dark cookies, so if they start getting brown, probably starting to burn. And the bottoms burn first. So again, when they come out, they're going to look like this. You're going to have these nice little balls of cookies. They're going to be pretty nice and moist. And they're a really good cookie, nice to have on hand. They're really good too, everybody really enjoyed them. So again, if you would like to see more recipes like this weekly, please subscribe to my videos. Please subscribe to me on Facebook Live. You can find the live subscribe button up in the corner. Or if you're on YouTube, you can find subscribe to my video channel, the little icon down in the, I think, bottom right corner. Yeah. So do subscribe. Visit me at rxprimal.com for more tips, more recipes. Like I said, they come out weekly, plus I do little tips and tricks, and follow me on Facebook. I love to keep in touch. Definitely reach out with any questions. I'm always happy to answer. And I hope you have a wonderful summer day, and I will see you next week.